To the coach's point, I used to be a wrestling coach. Um, all coaches are not going to coach the same. To the point, to the example that you brought up with the coach telling him that he was going to send him with the cheerleaders. The little boy got water in his eyes on the football field. That's not something that you cry about. The football field isn't a location where you can show these extremely soft, emotional moments, because that can literally cost you. So it's something that we have to instill into young boys to let them know, hey, everybody is not going to boo boo cry with you and hold your hand and say, oh, are you okay? Do you want to talk about it? That's not realistic. That's not what happens in real life. So if we're teaching young boys, young black men at that, and we're all aware of what type of environment black men live in, so if we're teaching young black boys with no daddy around that it's okay to behave like this, and that they're going to expect for somebody to say, "Oh, Daquan, is what's wrong, Daquan?" And that's not realistic. So we have to be realistic and understand that different men are going to bring different dynamics. I've had some amazing men in my life that was extremely direct and straight. Hey man, shut the fuck up and get back on the field. And then I had some that was like, hey, look, check it out, man. It's gonna be okay. We're gonna get back to it tomorrow. It all varies from person to person, from coach to coach, and that's the real world. That's what prepares young men to be law-abiding citizens that can be emotionally mature and go through life and handle things when shit gets tough. But when we go this other route that y'all want to go, that's where we have all of these men beating up women, they shooting up this club, they crashing out, they doing all of this emotional reactions. That's where that happens. So we can't feed into that. I'm always speak against that.
Well, I'ma just say it's a difference between telling him, okay, wipe your tears and get back on the field, and telling him I'ma sit you with the girls, as if experiencing that emotion is only for girls. It's a
No, I
big difference.
guarantee you that
Kids
wasn't the first
cannot read
time he
through
did
the
that.
lines. Kids cannot read through the lines when you say things like that. So that's going to make him feel like he cannot have the emotions that he have. You have to remember, these are not men yet. You're building them to be men. So the best thing to do is to give him more clarification on why he's experiencing that emotion, and a better way to deal with that emotion versus telling him to shut it off. I feel like
Can we
telling
share?
him to shut it off causes men to suppress their emotions. And then that's why you got the man out here beating on women, because he don't know how to express his frustration in a type way. He only know how to express anger.
Can we get
Um,
Hankin? Can we get Hankin? Because we have mostly the main people talking. Do you mind, Hank? Do you want to stay?
No, I think Ash is supposed to go for me.
Okay.
That's what he put in the
Um,
back.
um, I think that everybody had a valid point. I can't even see your name. Was that Jai? Jai, I feel like us being women, we typically are more of emotional beings than men. That's not saying that men aren't emotional, but um I just feel like in our culture we kind of raised, a lot of boys were raised by their moms instead of their dads. So a lot of them are being emotional and acting in a way that a woman would instead of a man, which is, all right, I feel this way, and then thinking logically and coming up with a solution to their problem. So I get what you're saying, but at the same time, I feel like a man should best show a little boy how to handle his emotions. And yeah, you can cry, but why are you crying in front of all of these people at your game? It's no reason for you to be crying. Suck it up. You're gonna handle it. You know what I'm saying? Channel that energy. You don't have to cry. There's moments where you do need to cry, but right now you're not crying while you're playing the football game. You get what I'm saying? Um, I was one of those women that in my marriage, like the first half, well, not the first half, the last half when it was like really bad, where I wasn't listening to my ex-husband. Like, so I would hear what he was saying, but I wasn't hearing in a way where I was understanding it because I wanted to reply back because I was hurt too. So I was just like, okay, well, I'm hurt too. So it wasn't like I was actually listening to him because I didn't feel like it. It was just like I'm hurt too. So okay, and you know what I'm saying? So I think a lot of times women that behave like that is like a response of them being hurt, which I'm not saying that is a good thing, but later on down the line, I had to once I started dating again and we got into a better place, um, I started to understand where he was coming from, where I wasn't so guarded and where I wasn't as like combative. So I was just like, damn, I was like this or I was like that. I could have been better at listening to how he felt versus listening to kind of give him a reply. And a lot of times I feel like that's what women do. Instead of listening to the man saying, hey, yeah, I feel this way, we try to be like, okay, well, we try to give them a solution when they're not asking for it. They're for you to give them a solution on what they should do. It's they want you to change the behavior, how you're making them feel. And that takes a lot of accountability. And a lot of times women don't want to do that.
I was gonna say I thought I agree with Ash for one, and I thought the argument or the debate between Di and Viz was a clear representation of the struggle we have nowadays between women and men in raising their children, right? Naturally, Di, you feel that you should talk your child through those emotions. Talk to him and explain to him why it's okay for him to cry and why he's feeling those emotions and get him to understand it. That's the nurturing side of you. Whereas Viz, as the man, is saying, okay, you cry, but you need to get back in there and keep it going because men are way more blunt. He's going to be way more straightforward. I think the issue that we're having is that both of you guys are correct because you're both going to play your role, but we have to allow the man, as Ash was saying, to take that lead in this situation, especially when dealing with boys, right? Because if we don't, then we do end up with those young men who are crash outs, who don't know how to deal with their emotions, who respond to things like we would respond to them because
And we
we've raised them to be women rather than actually allowing the man in their lives to make them men. So
Is
exactly what VS was saying, where he had coaches that told him, suck that shit up, get back on the court. That's what they need. They
I
need that
think
because the world is going to tell them to suck it up and get
eh,
back out there and keep pushing.
It's the
Not to say that,
disrespect behind it that I didn't like. You don't have to be disrespectful to be stern. And I think that's where people get it confused.
but I don't think it's disrespect,
He said,
right?
shut the fuck up and get back on the field. That's
It's not
disrespectful.
disrespect for a
is
young
is
man in
disrespectful
But
sports.
to
telling him,
you?
hey, cut that out, get back
Right.
on the field with the same
Is you
sternness
as
is
a
two different
woman?
things.
Right. And that's
Is
what I'm
you
Two
trying to get
different
you to
things. You don't
understand.
have to curse at a
Hold on
kid
now.
like that to get it through.
Is
But
you
hold
as
on.
a
It's
woman telling a
right.
grown man how to
It's you as
raise
a
a
woman, a
boy to be
boy.
a man?
Right.
That
Like the
that doesn't
argument
work
shouldn't
like
even be
that.
argued because
I
that
feel
it
like that's why
literally does not fit. It does not fit. You can apply all of that mentality to your girls, right? Because that's how women will deal with women. That's how we're going to approach situations. But you can't apply that to your boy. Boys need tough love. Boys need that roughness. Boys have way more energy. They're way more aggressive in nature. They're going to go out there and attack things. So they have to learn how to deal with that. We
so
can't soften them up
so I
and
have a
then
question.
send
It's
them
okay
into
for
a
me to talk
world.
to a man
Hold
that
on,
way
Dot.
then?
Let me finish. Let me
You're not
finish.
a man.
We cannot soften them up and then send them out into this world and expect them to be able to hold their own. That's why they struggle so much because we've made them too soft. It is not our job to raise a man. You're not a man. It doesn't matter how much you study it, how much you look into it, how much psychology you study. You're not a man. You cannot raise him to be a man. You can try your best, but there's always going to need to be some type of man figures there. And if they think that's the best way to to handle boys, which most men do, then that's probably the best way. It shouldn't be an argument there.